Strangely, the first thing that came to mind was my toilet.
Ooh, that's what I would curse.
Hey there, booze buddies! Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Spirits, where we share a drink, we tell you a spooky story, and then we rip it apart because booze always shows the truth. And as always, we will be playing Emily's drinking game.
Emily's drinking game. Ooh, yeah, yeah.
Where every time we screw up a word or phrase, we take a drink. So grab a drink and play along with us.
Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down.
Great, because today I'm going to tell you a tale about a cursed chair. Yes, ma'am. Gather around, kids. Let me tell you the story of Thomas Busby and the Busby Stoop chair. I don't know why that needed to happen, but it did. So, our story starts in the late 1600s and early 1700s in North Yorkshire, UK, so in England, where all cursed things start. I don't know if that's true. It is right now. Our good old pal, Thomas Busby, he was pretty much like a small-time criminal, and he was a drunk. All these, the great characteristics of men in the late 1600s, early 1700s. He kind of hooked up with this guy named Daniel Oddie, and they ran a coin counterfeiting business and did a whole bunch of other sort of crimes together. They were pals. Thomas decided that he wanted to put a rift in that and get down with Mr. Oddie's daughter. So he married her. Her name was Elizabeth. And Daniel was not really super pumped about it. Tommy, being a drunk, was not the greatest of husbands. The men started to argue. They didn't really get along so much. They would, get into it here and there. So then one day, our good friend Tommy decided he was going to bludgeon Danny to death with a hammer. There are a few stories about why he did this. One was they had a misunderstanding about something. Thanks, internet. And another one was he owned an inn, and he and Elizabeth lived in the inn, and it was also a pub. And he came back one night to the pub, and Daniel was sitting in his favorite chair. And he was there to basically confront him about how he treated Elizabeth and to take Elizabeth home. And Tommy didn't like that. And he smashed him in the head with a hammer. So he dragged the body into the woods, tried to hide it. It didn't help. He was the only suspect because it's the 1700s. It was 1702. So there's probably 4 people that lived there. So he was the guy. So he was convicted and sentenced to be hung. So goodbye, Tommy. So after Tommy was hung, this is where our curse starts, right? So the stories of how the curse originated, there's obviously different stories. We don't know the actual factual one. Actual factuals with Caitlin. In one version, when he was being brought to his hanging, they allowed him to stop at his inn and have a seat in his favorite chair and have one last drink before he, In another one, he was arrested while he was sitting in his favorite chair. Either way, there was something always revolving him being in that chair right before he died. And legend has it that he said, "May sudden death come to anybody who sits in this chair."
Ooh, I love a good curse, especially in old-timey speak like that.
What would you curse? I'll let you think about that. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
That was a tough question. What would you curse? Tell me now.
Strangely, the first thing that came to mind was my toilet. I don't know why that came to mind. It's not like I have any real attachment to the toilet. I think I just thought that would be funny. And if somebody sat on the cursed toilet, what would happen to them? That sounds like me in the afterlife, really.
I wish incontinence on anybody who sits on this toilet.
Severe constipation will befall you.
Oh, that's a brutal curse. You will never poop again. I like it. Yeah, okay. My bad. Drink up, buddy, because I didn't get the word out. There we go. So, yeah, he basically said, "Don't sit in my chair or you're gonna die suddenly." Turns out, kind of true. So anybody who sits in that chair, they have some sort of untimely death. And there are a lot of stories about it. So in 1984, there was a chimney sweep who just was looking to take a load off and sat down in this chair, was found hanging beside the the same post that Bubsy was hung on later that night. Dead.
I figured dead, not like, hey guys.
Maybe he was just hanging. He's just like literally hanging, like, wee, I'm a chimney sweep.
Chimney, chimney,
Copyright infringement. Disney sued. Another story, there were some soldiers from the Second World War, some Canadian airmen that dared each other to sit in the God. They dared each other to sit in the chair, and none of them came back from their missions that they went on after that. So each one of them was like, sat in the chair, done. In 1967, 2 Royal Air Force pilots sat in the chair, and then when they left the pub, they were killed. They got in a car accident and died.
What?
Wow. It's crazy,
This
right?
chair doesn't mess around, man.
I mean, cereal. I can't read. It's so hard. Another story that may or may not have happened, because I don't know if any of this is true, is a builder, also sometime around the late 60s, sat in the chair, and hours later, he fell from a roof. Goodbye.
Oh God. Is this chair like labeled? Is there any warning? Like, hey guys, may not want to sit in this chair. You might die tonight.
Well, I think for like a little bit, it was like a thing where they're like, oh, you won't sit in the chair. You won't do it. You won't do it. And then they do it and then they die. I would do it because I'm that person who would be like, oh yeah, I won't do it. Watch this.
I would be the person that's like, let's watch Caitlin do it and see what happens.
Does anybody know where this chair is? I'm just kidding. I know where it is. This one sucks. A cleaning person was just like doing a little cleanerson, and they kind of like lost their balance and fell into the chair.
No.
And it was an accident, so they died of a brain tumor.
Stop it. Stop it. This chair needs a little discretion. Like,
You know,
okay. The cleaning person didn't mean to sit in you.
he said, anybody who sits here, he didn't make an exception for accidental cheek touchage. It's a real word. Look it up.
Was it really sitting, or was it just like, oh God?
I don't know. I'll have to pull up the security footage from the Butthole Inn pub. I can't even remember what it's called. The Busby Pole Town Chairville Inn. Yeah, that's accurate. I'm not even going to look because I know it's right. So eventually in 1978, so after like hundreds of years of people just like sitting in this chair and passing away in some tragic way or another, the landlord was like, bro, I'm putting this thing in the basement. He didn't even destroy it. He didn't do anything. He just put it in the basement. He was like, I'm going to move it
Oh my gosh.
downstairs. So he moves it, and then obviously there's like some dumb delivery guy who is curious to why there's a chair hanging around in the beer barrels, right? He's like, oh, why is there a chair here? It must be for me to sit in. He's sitting in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, the delivery guy was like, oh, there's a barrel here with all the beer, so I'm just gonna sit in it because I'm lazy. And he died minutes later in a car accident. Minutes. Moments. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after that, they were like, all right, we gotta get rid of this thing. So they put it in a museum. So it's in the Thirsk, with a K, the Thirsk Museum, where it's still there to this very day. The agreement was that there was to display it somewhere where people couldn't accidentally sit in it. So it was hung up high. So it was a cursed chair. So our boy, Tommy Busby, had a good old time cursing his damn chair, and everyone died that sat in it.
That's crazy. Okay, so now I'm curious how many people sat in it who didn't die? Because you know there were people that sat in it that didn't.
Yeah, probably hundreds of thousands of people, right? And I didn't get the stats on that. Yeah, hold on, let me do it right now. No, I don't even know how to Google that. What do you Google? How many people sat in this chair that didn't die? They'd be like, nobody, everyone dies in the chair. So, yeah, so then it had me thinking, like, what would I curse? Like, what would I curse on my way out? And I don't like anything enough. And that's what I've come to the conclusion of. I don't have anything that I would be like, that people would use.
Right. Or if they did use, I wouldn't really care. That's, I think, why my brain went toilet.
Because you would
Because
care
that's
if somebody
like-
used your toilet?
No, just because it would be funny for me as a ghost to sit there and see this happening to people.
Okay.
And I would probably watch and just be like,
Would it just be like if they sat on your toilet? I'm trying to make up your toilet curse because I really want it to be a thing. So the legend of Lynn's cursed toilet.
it's Lynn's lavatory.
Lynn's lavatory? Labiatory?
Ew.
You love that. You're welcome.
No, just ruined my cursed toilet, Caitlin. Ruined it.
So
Cursed
yeah.
labia.
Ooh, that's what I would curse. Anyone who sits here will die. I'm gonna curse it while I'm still alive, though, so I can watch that happen.
Let's hope nobody's going near that when you're dead.
I mean, maybe we could put it in a museum and hang it up really high, so it belongs there. Seen some shit.
Stuffed or would it be dried? Because those are two different looks going on.
What was the first option?
like stuff like taxidermy?
Oh, we're taxidermy.
Or would it be like just dried?
No, dried is horrible. I don't ever want. We're gonna treat her with more respect than that. We're not gonna have it looking like a freeze-dried apricot. I don't know why I went apricot. Why wouldn't I go peach? No, I don't want it to look like we just took it out of the freaking. I just envisioned what was the stupid things dehydrated.
Like dehydrated like mango.
That's a business. People are getting their bodies crushed into diamonds. I'm gonna dehydrate body parts. Dehydrated
I like
like it is. Snap.
No! Why do they have to eat it? Just because it's freeze dried.
I don't know because in my head, freeze dried and dehydrated are the same thing, but they're not.
I mean,
so
I can add flavorings to it if you want. If you want to have like pineapple flavored or like strawberry,
spicy chili mango,
spicy chili, buffalo chicken wing kind of flavor.
Yeah, we need that. We want some blue cheese up on there. What is happening?
It's on brand.
It felt really funny to me that like the thought about sitting in something and then just like impending doom, like going to a bar. I just really had a bad day. I had a really bad day. I just need to get a drink. Oh look, there's one seat open. It's a busy night.
I feel bad for the cleaning person. They was just like, whoa, and then like.
But they had a brain tumor, so they got a little bit more longevity out of it. They didn't like walk out the door and go.
Well, kind of the chair.
Maybe it wasn't the chair. I'm willing to say that one is most likely not the chair.
Right. How much of it do you think is the chair? Do you think the chair actually is cursed?
I think curses have a lot to do with what people believe. Like if you believe it, like if you like, it's like manifestation, right?
No, I agree.
But I wholeheartedly always want these things to be real. So it's real for me.
I do believe that curses are real, but I also question, like, if this is so well known, I mean, over what, like 300 years?
300 years.
How many people have sat in this? Yeah, some of them are going to die right after. Like, how much of it is coincidence versus curse?
Like a lot of the stories were like, and then 2 hours later, and then they left and died, and then they got in a car accident, and then the guy was hanging from the pole, the same pole, which they called a gibbet post. Did you know this? What do you know?
Gibbet?
Yeah, bees, gibbet.
No, I always thought they were just called like the gallows.
Well, they were gallows, and then stoop is also apparently another word for the post that he was hung from. So that's why they call it the stoop. So they changed the name of the inn, which I should have told you, but I didn't, to the Busby Stoop Inn. So they call it that because of the.
So it's like basically the Busby hanging pole inn.
Yeah, it's a great place to hang out.
Ooh.
Yuck.
It is interesting. It makes me think about it. I don't know.
Would you sit in the chair?
No.
I would sit in it. I've lived a life.
I would do this.
That's why we work so well together. I'll try it. And like...
Then I'll report back to everyone.
Yeah.
Well,
just put a little,
true.
like... Just like a still of me with like X's over my eyes. Like cartoon style. It worked.
Yep. And then I'll be selling your freeze-dried labia on eBay.
It'll go. People pay big money for that. Well, that's the crappy story of Tommy Busby and his haunted, cursed chair that murders you if you sit in it. If you like what you saw, take your butt cheeks off that seat and use them to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you don't like what you saw, sit back down because you're gonna die soon. By curse. What?
Nice.
That was aggressive. Sorry about it. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for more drunken adventures with two old, not cursed whores. Get out.
Goodbye. Bye. Hey there, booze buddies. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Spirits, where what do we do here? Where we
share a drink. We share a drink.
Tell you a spooky story, and then we rip it apart.
Rip it apart. Mm-hmm.
Let's try that again.
What do we do here? Well, that's the crappy story of Tommy Busby and his... What the was the story even about? Hold on, time out. Okay. Boy.